Hey guys, so I think this is like my second video. Yeah, I would say this is video number 2 because the first one was kind of just like a trolling video. So in this video, I have compilated like 5 or 4 videos together. Basically, I'm trying to track down who came up with this genius idea of releasing the Epstein files or a list, or just who was the one who thought, yeah, we should just release all this stuff to the public. Like, who came up with this idea? So I just want to say right off the bat, Trump did not promise to give you guys an Epstein list. Like, if you're looking for a client list, Trump never promised you that. I have the viral video of Trump on Fox discussing the Epstein files. And so if you watch liberal like podcasters and liberal media, they say that the clip is edited. So there's a version where Trump goes into a more elaborate answer and he breaks down why he would like what's the word I'm looking for? Where you I forgot what it's called. Detract? I think that's what it is. Basically where you like black out some of the stuff, why he would do that. So there's a full version on him going into detail about why he would do that. And then there's another version where it cuts to something else, like right after he says, yes, that he would release them. And so if you watch liberal media, they say that, oh, Fox edited it, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they did. I don't know if they didn't. I'm just saying that's what's said. I picked the clip where it's the full version where he's actually talking about everything. I don't like influencers or podcasters who do commentary and shit like that. And they use like cherry-picked pieces without using the full context or explaining exactly what was being talked about. So I tried to grab as much of the clip and get as much of what is being said so that we can all get the full context. With that being said, I'm probably gonna have to talk a lot, and a lot of it might just be nonsense because of copyright laws and all this stuff. And I'm trying to make $1 million. So you guys can obviously go check out all these other YouTube channels to give these people their credit too. I didn't tag them or anything, but they're pretty famous, so you'll be able to find them. They're great. They're very reliable sources. I would really, really, really recommend going to their channels and checking them out. But if you could, just please like and subscribe.
Americans have lost a lot of trust in institutions, and I think there's been a lot of discussion, especially online and especially with young people. How do we rebuild that trust in institutions, the CIA, the FBI, all those institutions?
You're right.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
So that was interesting. I didn't even catch that. So I guess before, because obviously there's like more of this interview, Trump said he didn't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So that's very interesting. I like that answer.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera.
That was convenient.
But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one.
Attorney General Pam Bondi continues investigating the Epstein files and attempting to get a hold of the files that were never handed over from the FBI bureau in New York. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, joins us now live on site. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Are you drowning yet? How many weeks in?
Just a few.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Let me start with the Epstein case because there was an expectation that this was going to be bigger. You had the same expectation.
We all did. And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m.
Wasn't the FBI director, what's his name, Christopher Wray? Wasn't he appointed by Trump? So you're saying the Trump appointed FBI director, which you did not mention, refused to hand over Epstein files? That's very interesting.
To get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept, Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m.
So the documents were being held in New York. A source told her. So someone knew where they were because they told her. She just said that. Interesting.
Thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Cash is also, now that we have Cash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Cash is going to, Director Patel, is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those.
But who's the source? And why? If the FBI was hiding these files, or refusing to hand them over, I'm sorry, why all of a sudden would somebody from the FBI, well, actually, she didn't say where the source came from. So if we don't know who the source is, where they came from, how do they know where the files are? Do they work for the FBI? Do they have that kind of authorization? Like, it's just very, very vague. And yeah, luckily, Four Eyes is on the case.
Documents.
Okay, I want to be clear because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. Yep. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, you know, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein, because there are a lot of victims.
Well, you had identified in phase one over 254.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, is that the only thing that would be redacted? Will everything else be made public that you get in your possession?
Yeah, the FBI hasn't had, obviously, they haven't looked at the thousands of pages of documents that they've just received Friday. Yeah. But Cash has a team going through them, and it's always about protecting the victim. But you know what? We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know. The Biden administration sat on these documents. No one did anything with them. And why were they sitting in the Southern District of New York? I want a full report on that. You know, sadly, these people don't believe in transparency.
They don't believe in God, and
but
it's
I think
disgusting.
more, unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't believe in honesty. And it's a new day. It's a new
Damn right
administration. And everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
And that goes the same with the JFK files,
JFK,
RFK files,
Martin
MLK.
Luther King. Yep, absolutely.
What are the things that, and maybe some people don't understand the need to redact. In the case of a victim, that should be pretty obvious to people. Yeah, what are the other things that maybe you would have to redact?
Well,
national security?
No, of course, national security, some grand jury information, which is always going to be confidential, but we'll see. Let's look through them as fast as we can, get it out to the American people, because the American people have a right to know, not only on that, but on Kennedy, on Martin Luther King, on all of these cases that the Biden administration has just sat on for all these years. So yeah, it's really, it's not sad, it's infuriating that these people thought that they could sit on this information, but they can't. It's a new day, and we believe in transparency, and it's going to come out. And when we redact things, Sean, what we're going to do is not just pull pages out like they used to do. If something's redacted, you will know the line, and you will know why it's redacted, like a victim's name, identifying information of a victim.
Let's talk a little bit about the DOJ prior to your arrival. I believe it was weaponized. Oh. How do we prevent that from ever happening again? I believe that once the FBI was the world's premier law enforcement agency, and that was weaponized and politicized. I believe the same with our intel community. How do we restore these institutions to their former greatness?
Well, first and foremost, we got rid of the Jack Smith team. Gone. Yeah. Those people are gone. We're still trying to find out. There are a lot of people in the FBI and also in the Department of Justice who despise Donald Trump, despise us, don't want to be there. We will find them because you have to believe in transparency. You have to believe in honesty. You have to do the right thing. And right now, we're going to root them out. We will find them, and they will no longer be employed. But again, we're starting at every level of the Justice Department, Sean, and getting rid of the worst of the worst. But there are a lot more people that shouldn't be there, but there are a lot of good people who are out there now risking their lives every day making these cases. You know, today we made a huge case involving a Guatemalan, an illegal from Guatemala, one of the largest human trafficking rings in the country, 20,000 people being smuggled into this country from Guatemala. That arrest was made in California. Last week, an illegal was arrested in New York for ISIS, funding ISIS. It's constant. We are going to get out there. We're going to arrest the bad people, take them off the streets, and restore the Justice Department to what it was made to do, fight violent crime.
Were you or are you up to this point? I know it's very early in your tenure.
A few weeks.
Are you at all shocked at how things were running before you got there?
Shocked. Yeah.
Shocked.
Never thought. Cash and I, Patel, talk about this all the time. You know, we knew it was bad. We never knew how bad. And especially on the criminal side and on the people who are in there. Well, you've heard the story, of course. I went up, I was visiting the floors. I walk up to the 7th floor of the National Security, and I couldn't get in there because it's a skiff. Well, that's how it was secure.
Yeah.
But my detail managed to get me in there. They still had a picture of Joe Biden on the wall and Kamala Harris. That's how bad it was. So I personally took those off the wall. But that's the tip of the iceberg.
What about when you talk about when you talk about people in the DOJ that have an awful lot of power, and maybe what they did to Donald Trump is unprecedented. Evaluation of Mar-a-Lago, the double standard with the rate of Mar-a-Lago, the FISA abuse, Russia lie, a dirty misinformation dossier signed 3 times by a former FBI head, in that case, James Comey. Are these all on the table to get to the bottom of over time?
Everything's on the table, Sean. We're going to look at everything. And as I said, the Jack Smith team, gone. That was low-hanging fruit, really.
Right.
Get rid of them. Get rid of the people that raided the president's home
Will we
at
look
Mar-a-Lago.
into what they did?
Everything's being looked into. Everything. And right now, we are hiring great lawyers, great people around us who we can trust. Right now, the numbers are very small. But now that we have cash in, it's made it a lot easier at the FBI. But he's dealing with what we're dealing. You know, the great men and women of DEA, ATF, the U.S. Marshals. We're all working together to fight violent crime. And it's a shame that a few people have given them such a bad name, as well as the Department of Justice.
It sounds daunting. It sounds like a massive like it doesn't sound like you're going to be sleeping a lot in the next 4 years.
None of us will, but it's worth it. It's worth it to fight for the American people and to keep America safe.
Amen.
Why does she have that evil smile?
Pam, thank you for coming in. Good to see you.
Thank
you.
A good friend of my wife, but a wonderful lady, a great lawyer. Welcome to the program, Madam Attorney General. I want to get into this Epstein thing a little bit. I think the American people are very curious about who's on this list or these lists. You have been doggedly trying to get all the information. And now we learn, thanks to you, that you've been stonewalled by people in New York. Do you want to explain that?
Yes, Mark. So as you know, we released about 120 pages of documents, and I started asking for these documents right when I came into office and before Kash Patel was in there. So I ended up getting about 120 pages. We carefully redacted them, of course, to be sure the 254 young girls, women who are victims of sex crimes and sex trafficking, their personal information was redacted and out of there to protect them. So I'm going through it and I kept saying, there has to be more, there has to be more. I'm assured that's it. Kash asked the same questions. Assured there's no more. I found out, this week that a source told me New York, SDNY, they're sitting on thousands of pages of documents regarding Epstein. Thousands. And of course, you've seen the very strong letter. We will get everything. We will have it in our possession. We will redact it, of course, to protect grand jury information and confidential witnesses. But the American people have a right to know. And Donald Trump is the most transparent president in our nation's history. So not only will America get the full Epstein files, they will get JFK, they will get Martin Luther King.
About what she plans to do with these files now sitting on her desk. Here's what she says.
This is something Donald Trump has talked about. The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
That
Wow.
I think you spurned that to happen, and now it is. Pam Bondi's being pretty specific that she's reviewing it, so that's not clear that we're getting all of it. But it's not just Epstein.
I
It's
hope we
Epstein,
get all of it.
MLK, JFK, and all of these things.
Look, the Epstein stuff is serious stuff.
It
I mean,
is.
we're talking about children. We're talking about sexual abuse.
Absolutely. And remember, we're talking about a number of different potential crime scenes and videos that have been collected. One of the big differences, I think, now compared to the past 4 years is now there seems to be a real aggressive action toward transparency, as we've been talking about all morning long. I do want to know where those tapes went. I do want to know what happened out in New Mexico. I would like to know, are there other women and children who've been impacted, for example, by this Epstein, not just by Jeffrey Epstein himself, but also by Ghislaine Maxwell and by others who may or may not have been party to these circumstances on the east side of New York. So I think transparency, sunlight, what they say is the best disinfectant.
It's the best disinfectant. Let me tell you why I think this is important. I think it's important because we have a generation of young people who have been through the lies of COVID that deeply impacted them, have seen all of these things transpire that we've been talking about, but at very formative ages. And this is their chance to believe that their government is honest again.
Amen.
I think if these are not released in their entirety, and if this promise is not kept, and by the way, I believe President Trump is going to keep this promise, but I think this is about restoring trust for young people in democracy.
Yeah.
I think it's wildly important.
We've had these drones, and we've talked about it here on the couch and elsewhere, these mysterious drones everywhere in the Biden administration. Stonewalled. Trump administration comes in right away. It's like, okay, here's what that was.
Yeah.
And but it's like, why was that so hard? And you have a great point, too, with young viewers. This is about the erosion of trust with young people and their government. And that's not a good thing. That needs to be reversed. And I think transparency, they can see tangible transparency when they're looking into whether it's Epstein or RFK or JFK. They're like, okay, now I can see it. Now I can see it for myself. I can read it. And therefore, it reinstores.
There's a reason for government to have some secrets, but a lot of this is just about protecting powerful people. And this is a chance to reverse that. So,
all right.
But who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is that. I mean, there's.
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a black book or the manifesto.
But the Black Book, it's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
Interesting. Hoover power times 10 in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. What does that mean? No sabo.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on day one. And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on day one. And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on day one. Roll out the black book. And not just one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber. On day, you know, one of the reforms I talk about in Government Gangsters is you need a central node to be continuously declassifying. This is another thing they do. They overclassify. And I'm telling you, as a former number 2 in the IC, they overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here. Gina was a master at it, of doing it. And we still haven't seen half of the Russiagate report that we wrote. Still under lock and key. On how the ICA was originally constructed. We put 10,000 man hours against John Brennan's team that did it. And we found out why they came up with their bogus conclusion. But we couldn't sell it to the world because we couldn't talk about it, and the government gangsters came in and buried it. All of these things, there needs to be a continuing central power, whether it's the White House or offsite, that says every request that comes in, just right out the door, as long as it's not a major threat to national security.
Let's just get to it, because I know it's on people's minds. Epstein, right?
We talked about this.
The reason people are pissed off about that is the same thing, right? 20 years ago, or whenever it was, 2006, 7, 8, Epstein gets his sweetheart plea deal, right? After committing the most horrific crimes on planet Earth, right? I wasn't in power there. I wasn't in place there. I had, nothing to do with it. But people were rightfully pissed. I mean, this guy was committing the most grotesque acts you can against children. And the media spins up about it. Many in the media protected him. Why? Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings. And so when you peel back the layer, and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go around, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that myself, Bongino, and
you were the one who said that the director of the FBI, who was appointed by Trump, has the black book? Pam Bondi has a source that knew where there was papers that were missing from the Epstein files.
Others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is there's been like 15 years of people coming
thank God for Joe Rogan.
in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you if it existed? I'm working my ass off, along with the leadership at the Bureau and DOJ, to get you what we're allowed to give you. And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
Okay, let's get into that. So what did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of it?
But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day. I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, SHUs as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way, based on public information at the time, that he ended up, the pictures and him hanging himself, I was like, man, that guy killed himself.
I mean that because of his public defender days, he was able to look at a picture and say, this guy killed himself. There's no way anything else could have happened. And he came to that conclusion based on his public defender days.
There's just no way
That's interesting.
that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I've been in.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
right?
And in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like, where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah. But no one can get in to the cell. And if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
Calm down, Joe. Don't push too hard.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
We're giving you all the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released like immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask whoever the Attorney General back then was, Bill Barr.
Bill Barr?
Did you ever see,
do
you remember
Bill
that
Barr?
HBO autopsy show?
Interesting.
Dr. Michael Baden, he's a famous forensic scientist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Smart
he's a
man.
pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look.
Two things he was unaware of, or he is unaware of, or not up to date on. I didn't check myself either, but I also was not out here talking about this fucking conspiracy the way he was. So, to my fairness, I shouldn't have to care or check about this shit.
Job.
You haven't seen that?
The report on that? No, I haven't looked at that.
Did you see any? Was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it, and that's what we're doing.
See if you can find that Dr. Michael Baden thing.
Yeah. No,
Did you remember that show, the HBO show?
No.
Pretty cool show.
Yeah.
So this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, he had a long career of catching murderers, exhuming bodies, finding trace amounts of poisons, different kinds of things. And it was a crazy show, like all these wild ways. Of
Well, I love watching shows, and I spend a lot of time on planes. So.
Yeah, it was an old show. It was a
Okay.
show like from the early 2000s, I believe. But this guy was like, this very well-respected forensic scientist who would analyze these bodies, and it was his determination that he was murdered.
Yeah. And my job, going back to the core of what I've been doing since I studied Russiagate, was to get, and is to get everybody the information.
When did you get here? Epstein's autopsy points to homicide. Pathologist hired by brother claims. New York City medical examiner strongly disputed the claim that the evidence from the autopsy suggested strangulation. So let's go to by the way, this is the New York Times, and they never lie. The private pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, said the morning TV show Fox and Friends, Mr. Epstein experienced a number of injuries, among them a broken bone in his neck, that are extremely unusual in suicidal hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. I think the evidence points to homicide rather than suicide, said Dr. Baden, who observed the autopsy done by city officials. Dr. Baden, a former New York City medical examiner and a Fox News contributor, said, I have not seen in 50 years where that occurred in suicidal hanging case. Findings by Dr. Baden were strongly disputed by the city's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, who previously ruled that Mr. Epstein's death on August 10th in the Metropolitan Correctional Center was a suicide. I stand firmly behind our determination of the cause and manner of death in this case, Dr. Sampson said in the interview on Wednesday. She added, in general, fractures of the hyoid bone and cartilage can be seen in suicides and homicides. The hyoid bone is near the Adam's apple. Dr. Sampson also dismissed Dr. Baden's contention that the circumstances around Mr. Epstein's death suggested other people may have been involved. She said her office had done a complete investigation, taking into consideration information gathered by law enforcement in making the determination.
So this is a perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on Earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, And this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. A perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Did y'all know
And
that?
I used to do it all the time.
Did you guys know that the director of the FBI, when he was a public defender, was representing whatever the fuck he just said? That's interesting.
I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on Earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America.
That's interesting right there.
And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. A perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite. And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on Earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. I mean, I represent.
I don't know about the rest of you. That just does not seem like a normal thing to say. You know, like, especially, it just kind of seems like he's trying to use it as a flex. Like, you didn't have to go into detail about the people that you, I don't know. It's just. So you used to protect and defend pedophiles and sex traffickers. You used to. Funny how you got that position and everything you promised is now missing.
And some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on Earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
Are you going to try to answer it, or are you going to find an expert that's going to give you the answer that you're paying them to give you?
Did you become aware of this video that showed that no one had gone in and out of the cell?
Recently.
So why was it recent, though? I mean, if this death was, how long ago was this death? 2 years?
Couple.
2019?
2019.
Oh, really? Why time flies. So 6 years.
Well, again, that's part of what I'm going to try to answer for you.
Jeffrey Epstein jail CCTV erased by technical errors. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
But you see how anybody on the outside, I mean, this is like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
For some, can you pull that article up so we can read what it says, Jamie? U.S. prosecutor said the jail mistakenly saved footage from the wrong cell. Sorry. Epstein, a convicted sex offender, first tried to kill himself in July last year and hanged himself in jail.
Hang on.
Yep.
Reread that line.
That he first tried to kill himself in July of last year. Yeah.
How much of the American public do you think knows that?
I didn't know that until right now.
1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 5 articles came out about him trying to off himself. Duh.
There you go.
Maybe I heard it and forgot. Did you ever hear it, Jamie?
That's why he's on.
Did you know he tried to kill himself before you read that article, Kashish? Because based on the other questions you were asked, you didn't know shit.
Suicide watch, I think.
Oh, okay.
So a guy
hanged himself in jail in August while serving trial on federal sex trafficking charge. He pleaded not guilty to abusing dozens of girls, some as young as 14. Yeah. Soon after Epstein's death in August, 2 of the CCTV cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned and were being examined by the FBI. Found semi-conscious in his prison cell with injuries on his neck on 25 of July. After this incident, he's placed on suicide watch.
I'm not saying every single camera in the place was working. I'm saying
you literally said that there's no way to get into the thing and that there's no way that he could get murdered because there's cameras. So much so that Joe Rogan actually said, but we got news that the cameras weren't working or something like that. You guys,
we've got footage and you're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you can make up your own mind, and the theories can continue. But my job is to give you
the theories can continue. I don't think we want the theories to continue. We want to know who the fuck the pedophiles are. That's what you said you were going to do. What do you mean the theories can continue? Is there an incentive that you're getting for these theories continuing? That doesn't make any sense. I thought we're supposed to be trying to protect these kids. Why do we want the theories to continue? Kashish.
Became aware of this footage recently.
the ones that we're looking at, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is like an article from quite a while ago that was saying that the footage was mistakenly erased.
Look, I mean, it goes back to the same, ask the people that were in power then. I mean, I get it that you want to hold me to account for their actions, and
no, I'm not saying,
you, not you.
I'm not saying that.
Not you.
No, bro, not you. Don't get mad at me, bro.
Just the public in general, and that's okay.
What's confusing to everybody today, first of all, it's very confusing because AI can kind of make anything. You know, which has got to be a bizarre position for you to be in when you're looking at videos. I mean, I've watched Viking videos. It looked real as fuck, you know? They just make Viking towns. I mean, it's really quite incredible what they're doing now, and it accelerates every month. I mean, I talked to Elon about it, and he said we're blown away literally every week. Every week there's some new breakthrough. We're like, wow, we didn't expect that.
Well, I can tell you after having looked at it, this ain't going to be AI.
You don't think so?
You're gonna. It's just not great. You know, it's like if it were AI, like someone wanted to come in and make it, they'd make it better.
But why? Why would you make it better when people could, you know, you could have ambiguous footage that is, you know, totally generated by AI. I mean, AI can generate blurry images. AI can generate night vision. AI can generate essentially anything that's already existed, like really shitty 1984 VHS tapes.
Gee, thanks for explaining it to us, Joe.
They can do that.
They can. But I'm telling you, I'm giving you the tape from the tape.
I'm giving you the tape from the... But you didn't. But you did... We're learning a lot of shit about you today, Kashish.
You know, there's, just like I'm giving you the documents from the vault, just like I'm giving you information to Congress on COVID origins or what have you, what we find is what you're getting.
Okay, so now it's saying 2019, missing jail video from the first Jeffrey Epstein suicide. So for the first attempt has been found. So maybe, let's put it into perspective, jails are not the most efficient, best run places. It's not like
Fort Knox.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's, yeah.
You know, we're working with what we got.
Right.
So, and listen, this guy's not the only guy to kill himself in prison. It happens, I don't know how often.
Right.
All the time.
Even if he killed himself in prison. So if he was murdered in prison, crazy, right?
Yeah.
You could see why very powerful people wouldn't want
If he
him
was
talking.
murdered in segregated housing, in isolation, after being on suicide watch in a place in a detention center that I've physically been in myself, it would be fiction. It's just, in my experience, that is not doable.
It's not doable even for the most powerful and wealthiest people in the world?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think, though, that, like, if someone was in a position where a guy could release information that could potentially damage the most wealthy people on earth, you would have a concerted effort that's unprecedented.
Sure.
You would have the resources that we couldn't even possibly comprehend, all pointing towards eliminating this one person that it could be done.
But, I mean, so many people have been implicated, right, already. And some of that information, what they did to Prince Andrew and everything.
If you remove the two little acting positions that he had, the ones were like the shortest time span that he was held those positions, that he was in those positions, and then you reevaluate his resume, ask yourself how qualified this person is for the position that he's holding.
Everybody else is already out there. And so that's the conspiracy stuff that me and Bongino and the folks have to say, look, we will give you everything we can, and then we will have done our job. Also, if I had a shred, me, Kash Patel, had a shred of evidence, the Russiagate guy, the Jan 6 guy, the COVID origins guy, had a shred of evidence that this guy was murdered, I would be the first guy to bring this case hard and fast. And I would even doing press conferences every week on it. The first guy. That's what I'm asking people to play out to their logical conclusion. I'm not Comey. I'm not McCabe. I'm not the guy that was in the seat before. I have a wildly different background. Perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite. And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, I've been putting out the truth my entire career. Why would I risk all of it on this guy?
I believe. You catch the letter?
Oh, yeah.
I believe you. I just think that, you know, the problem is we've been fuming on this conspiracy for so long. And we love conspiracies, don't we?
No,
as a country,
it's
there's
good,
so
right?
much fun.
I mean, you know, they make
JFK
TV.
tapes. Come on, like release the documents.
Of course you love conspiracies. Your whole life is paid for on conspiracies. And honestly, as an American, I mean, I get it. Life gets a little bit boring. But at what point is this getting too far out of fucking hand?
All love them. We love them. We love UFO ones. We love everything. We love the craziest conspiracies. They're exciting. We don't want to hear that he tried to kill himself in July and then succeeded in August. And look, I could imagine why the guy wanted to kill himself. He was going to jail for the rest of his fucking life. And in jail, sex offenders for children are not treated well.
And also, by the way, most Americans haven't, nor should they. Have you ever spent 1 minute in segregated housing?
No.
It's the worst. The absolute worst. Like, you and your background, you could probably handle it, right? Like,
what part of Joe Rogan's background makes you think he's built to live in segregated housing? Like, this guy is such a fucking kiss ass licking ass dick rider that it's fucking disgusting. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god.
you know, just in all reality, most Americans, you put them in there for 5 seconds, they're going to slam their head against the wall. Literally. They're going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
I'm sure. I could only imagine. And I could only imagine this guy knowing that it's over. And what do you want to do? Do you want to...
Yeah, and
then who knows who the fuck he's working for? Let's just put that aside. Now, if you're working for... Let's just... We don't have to name names. We don't have to speculate. If he's working for some agency, some group, some foreign group, and they decide to target his family because he's going to jail for the rest of his life anyway. They decide to target his family if he testifies against them. I could see where if I thought that it was like I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life, or I tell and my family winds up being killed or destroyed, or who knows. Maybe you'd say, look, the honorable thing is to end it in prison.
Honorable, cowardly thing.
Cowardly, whatever it is. Like, you just
also,
decide.
At some point, that guy was going back into Gen Pop. And the one thing I'll tell you about prison systems is the people they eat are child predators.
Yes.
And he was going to get eaten.
Well known, yeah. And they probably wouldn't have protected him. Yeah. So the narrative has always been that there's video.
Who's going to tell him about
Now,
the video release?
what is the chain of custody? Is there evidence that there is video? Is there evidence that it was moved around, stored, protected from people looking at it? Like,
you're going to get all that information. Like, that's literally what we're putting together. And we're going to give you every single thing we have and can. And that's the whole point. We can't fit